Welcome to Budapest. Formula One's about to take its summer break. We go our separate ways, with Fernando Alonso poised to become the youngest world champion ever. Michael Schumacher now accepts he can't retain his title, but he is in great shape for the Hungarian Grand Prix after a sensational lap in qualifying. Championship leader Alonso cuts his 24th birthday cake on Friday at the same circuit where he became the youngest Grand Prix winner ever 2 years ago. The engaging Spaniard loves a spot of conjuring. ITV F1 gave him a magic box of tricks to extend his repertoire.
The key of the championship.
Which door will Jenson Button be going through next season? Button's desperate to stay at BAR Honda, but he signed a contract to move to Williams.
I need to be in a car that's competitive next year, and that is a BAR Honda. That's the best option I have.
In qualifying, Kimi Räikkönen has no option but to go first after the latest mechanical failure at Hockenheim. It's a cracking lap on a dirty circuit. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari ended up on the back of a lorry after an alternator failure during Friday practice. But he's back on track with a vengeance with his lap of the year.
Michael Schumacher takes almost a second out of Jarno Trulli. That is unbelievably quick.
Now, if you check the records, starting on pole often means winning the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. Here's your full grid from Tony Jardine.
Michael Schumacher's comeback pole puts him one off Senna's record. Juan Pablo Montoya joins him in a potentially explosive front row. Truly a strong third for Toyota, but Räikkönen was inspirational. Fourth, first out on the dirty track, keeping his hopes alive. Fifth, Ralf Schumacher. Sixth, championship leader Alonso, disappointed after handling problems. Seventh, Barrichello praised his new Bridgestone tyres. Eighth, Button suffered from lack of grip. Ninth, Fisichella was too conservative. 10th, Sato for BAR Honda. 11th, Christian Klien. 12th, Nick Heidfeld in the Williams. 13th, Coulthard had a wobble at turn 1. And 14th, Massa Sauber. 15th, Villeneuve. 16th, Weber had to go out second. 17th, Christian Albers was committed in the Minardi. And 18th, Narain Kartikeyan's Jordan. 19th, Dutchman Dornbos locked up twice, losing time, whilst Diego Montero had to change an engine and he starts last.
It is the 20th Hungarian Grand Prix. Enjoy the best of the 70 laps with Mark Blundell and James Allen.
70 laps of Budapest. Begin. No! A lot of movement in the middle. Coulthard and Klien on the way. Montoya's got in front of Trulli, and Räikkönen is covering him. Räikkönen, very clever indeed, cuts Trulli completely out of the equation, and Schumacher as well. The McLarens, I think, working in tandem, and that looked like Alonso down the inside. He got his wheels upside down, got a roller. Oh, was Christian Klien, I believe, has rolled the Red Bull Racing. Didn't see who he flipped over, but for sure a yellow flag. I would imagine safety car on standby as well, although we haven't been told that. He seems to be well off the racetrack. A dramatic start then for Christian Klien, and dramatic also for the two McLarens. They're exactly where they want to be, Mark, right behind Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, but Schumacher already has pulled out a significant lead there. And the start was a little bit messed there. Christian Klien getting hooked up into something quite difficult.
Alonso, sorry Mark, Alonso looks like he's damaged his front wing. He may even have lost part of it. Let's wait to see if he can come. Yeah, look at that. The left-hand side of his front wing. World Championship leader Fernando Alonso is in trouble on lap 1.
Well, that's a big blow to him, James. They're going to have to come in and get that repaired immediately. It's going to get worse. He's going to start dropping back and holding a few people up behind him. But he can still maybe get that nose change, get on the back of the pack. And if there is a safety car, which is unlikely now, they look like they're recovering that car quite quickly, it'll be okay.
Here it is again then. You can see he gets down the inside of Ralf Schumacher. And that was the problem. And there's Klien.
Yeah, he touched wheels there with one of the Saubers and just unfortunately Coulthard off as well, so it's a very bad day for Red Bull Racing indeed. He's got damage to his car, had a collision with somebody also.
2 Red Bull Racings out in the course of a single lap. No sign of safety cars. Waved double yellow flags at turn 1 for the Klein incident. World Championship leader Alonso comes into the pits as Michael Schumacher leads after 1 lap. Raikkonen second, Montoya third, Trulli fourth. Looks like Barrichello is also into the pits from 5th on the grid. What a dramatic opening lap here at Budapest. That's really shuffled the pack. Alonso is being told to get going now. Didn't see what they were doing with fuel on that, whether they've changed the plans at all, but Alonso, we believe, carrying a reasonable slug of fuel anyway into this Grand Prix. So 2 cars for sure out. Here's another look.
Rubens just pushed himself into the back of the Toyota Trulli by the looks of it. That's caused some damage there, but this is a big issue as well, James. Look at the carbon fibre being laid onto the ground. That's going to cause a punch maybe with somebody clean over on the roll hoop. Luckily he's okay. It's meant to just be there for protection, and it's done the job. But he wouldn't have wanted that ideally.
Yeah, just look how strong that roll bar was. Which of the 2 Saubers was it that he flipped over? I believe it was Jacques Villeneuve, who's been in a few incidents recently. And you can see Alonso there after he lost his wing. There's Coulthard. That's how he went out of the race. He just had a simple spin as far as I can see. Lots of bits of Renault bodywork. Oh, that's what he did. He did not have a simple spin. He knocked the front wheel off his car, hitting Alonso's wing.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do about that. If you've got carbon fibre and a wing the size of that in front of you, you can't react quick enough. It's going to rip the wheel off, as you've seen with DC. Very unfortunate. And very lucky that also he didn't roll over as well.
Schumacher responds to the pressure from Kimi Raikkonen, a 1:21.673 from Michael Schumacher. He tries to build the lead a little bit more. He's not able to run away and scamper. Certainly the performance of the Bridgestone tyres and the single lap much improved here in Budapest. And certainly a lot of the Michelin teams thinking the early part of this Grand Prix, these Bridgestones would work pretty well. They bite nicely, give Schumacher a good chance of getting away. But such is the speed of Raikkonen and McLaren at the moment, they're just not letting him go anywhere. 8 laps into the 70-lap Hungarian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher leads by just over a second from Kimi Raikkonen. They're trading fastest laps at the moment. Montoya 7 seconds behind in 3rd place. Trulli almost 10 seconds behind Schumacher in 4th. Ralf Schumacher then in 5th. 6th Button, 7th Sato, and 8th is Nick Heidfeld. The big winners off the start line, well, certainly Massa and Webber plus 4 places on the grid. The big loser is Fernando Alonso, and here's why, Mark.
Fernando Alonso gets off the line, starts to go down the inside here into turn 1. He's in close proximity to Ralf Schumacher and the Toyota. Schumacher actually has a little lock-up as we come into it here. Just see him, look, he's locked up, he's slightly out of control, and this is where the damage is caused. The front wing gets a knock. That's actually just unsettled it on its mountains, and further into the lap here, the wing flies off. And unfortunately for David Coulthard, this is a situation where he gets to collect the debris. Something that is unavoidable at some points if it's unsighted. DC there flying off the circuit. He's run over the front wing of Alonso. His race is done. Very lucky that that wheel didn't completely go underneath the car and roll him over as well. But at the end of the day, a big frustration.
So we've lost both Red Bull Racing cars. Christian Klein did a dramatic roll in the first corner. He's now talking with Louise Goodman.
Christian, nice to see you walking easily back through the paddock, but how worried were you in that moment when you felt the car rolling over?
Actually, I don't know what happened. It came, it was so quickly, and just someone hit me in the back. I don't know who it was. I think one of the Williams or Sauber. And I just rolled the car, but I came back on all 4 wheels, luckily, and nothing happened to me.
So it was kind of all over before it started, as far as you were concerned?
Oh, absolutely. It was just half of the straight my race, and that was not my target for this weekend. But yeah, badly this race accident happened.
Thanks, Christian.
Just 2 retirements from the Grand Prix, then Coulthard and Klein on lap 10. But Raikkonen now is attacking Michael Schumacher even more. He's got the gap down to 0.7 of a second. One of the problems here at Budapest, Mark, particularly when you've got air temperature of 34 degrees. I mean, summer holidays around the corner, but this is ridiculous. And 47, the track temperature, is that following another car makes your temperatures go higher and higher. They're set up in terms of cooling to run at a certain temperature. But I'm told by the engineers that when you're in a position as Raikkonen is now, your temperatures are about 5 degrees hotter just because you're following another car.
That's correct, and we also saw on the graphics on the earlier part of the show, with the way that the airflow comes off of these cars, it is a very much and a lot of angry air coming back through. It doesn't go into the side pods where it needs to be, and you also see cars going off to the side, just trying to get some clean air, some cooler air, and you also get the team coming onto the radio and telling you, just drop back, temperatures are climbing, just give it a bit of a breather.
You see Button and Sato there, as we looked at it again, very lucky to avoid it. You saw Webber just jinking out of the way of Alonso's wing, but Coulthard had no choice, he just hit it. Webber, he was unsighted behind Webber, who dived out of the way, and whack, David Coulthard hit it, but those BARs were lucky, weren't they? Kimi Raikkonen pits on lap 12 then. He is the first of the cars to come in, so the predictions up and down the paddock were wrong in terms of how much fuel Raikkonen was carrying. It was a good lap yesterday in qualifying to put himself fourth. He did go out first in qualifying. He had to be aggressive to get himself into the hunt. Where will he feed back into the picture? Probably somewhere just in front of Jenson Button if he's lucky. Can't really see from that shot, but Button goes through. I think he's just behind Kimi Raikkonen, yeah. So if that's the case, then Raikkonen's fed back in again in 5th place, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, Jane, to see McLaren change their strategy slightly. And they can see that they need to bring Raikkonen in, get him in before Michael Schumacher comes in. Then he give them a long distance on the second part of the stint then. And I think Michael will be struggling slightly. He's got to be in soon. Raikkonen's going to be in a much stronger position with fuel load and tyre wear at a critical part of his second stint.
Jarno Trulli pits from 4th.
Jarno Trulli coming in to refuel. Trulli's never been that strong during the race distance, and the Toyota has been such a disappointment to many of us because they have been very good in qualifying. Once they get into the race, they just seem to be holding many people up, and at this point in time, although they're up there in 4th position, they're about to drop further down the field. I'm not so sure they're going to have enough pace to work their way through back to the front.
Rejoins in front of Takuma Sato. So in 6th place, Jarno Trulli. That is the top 8. You can see who's stopped and who's not. And Barrichello having a big turn of the wheel there, opposite lock going into turn 13. So his car not working quite as well as Michael Schumacher's.
This is where it's got to be critical, James, because he needs to get good exit speed off of that last turn, get onto the back of the guy here on this small straight, and that's one of the biggest problems. You see there, look how much he gets there in terms of braking difference. Nearly ran into the back of Kartikainen. Surely he must have had a problem there. The speed differential was great. Very lucky not to cause any damage.
Right, it was interesting now, I was watching because Kartikainen looked like he braked earlier than Rubens anyway, who's certainly one of the later brakers in Formula One. That's where he gets some of his speed from, but that was abnormal, wasn't it? For sure. Something weird going on with Kartikainen's car there.
I think Narain actually was waiting for Rubens to slip down the inside and didn't really signal. It may have been a little bit easier if Rubens had have seen that. I don't think Narain maybe put his hand up to give him any forewarning.
Michael Schumacher, the race leader, here he comes into the pits. Ferrari are waiting for him, and he comes and hits his mark. Slight advantage for him as well. He comes straight into the pit box. Doesn't have to drive around anybody. That's worth a fraction of a second to him. Small front wing adjustment, quite a bit of fuel going into that car. No watch on it, but I'd say that was quite a bit of fuel. And you can see that Juan Montoya has taken the lead. The McLaren goes through then, the bottom of the frame. Here's Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher, who was in 3rd place, has dived into the pits. That puts Kimi Raikkonen back up to 3rd place, having made his stop earlier on. That's the Toyota team looking, I believe, at Ralf Schumacher, giving him some attention. He goes back out again as well, behind Jenson Button, it looks like, but in front of Jarno Trulli. So he's jumped his teammate then. Well, we lost David Coulthard and Christian Klein in the Red Bull Racing cars in a chaotic start. DC is now with Louise Goodman.
Yeah, David's made the walk back to the paddock. David, what were you thinking to yourself as you trudged home?
Well, obviously extremely disappointed. I actually got a lift with 3 Hungarian girls, so it could have been a lot worse. But yeah, disappointed for the team. You know, we had a reasonable qualifying, believe we had a good strategy, and obviously with Christian going out as well, it's a double whammy, and it affects us for Turkey, who will be the first ones out.
Really not much you could do about that one, was there?
I'm still not quite sure what I hit. You know, well, I do know it was a Renault nose cone, but I couldn't distinguish the shape of it or anything. I just saw something in the middle of the track, and I was going too fast to be able to react.
Thanks, David.
Juan Montoya knows that these are the important laps for him now if he's going to challenge to win this Grand Prix. On lap 21, he's just set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:21.2. He's pushing the McLaren hard now. 19 seconds the lead that he has over Michael Schumacher. You need about 21 seconds to make a pit stop and rejoin in front. So Montoya nicely on target at the moment. McLaren ready. It must be for Montoya. Raikkonen has already made his stop. Lap 22 then of this Grand Prix. Not as far into the race as many people were predicting. Here's Raikkonen, and in comes Raikkonen on lap 22. Jenson Button's still out. Beg your pardon, Montoya, sorry. That's Montoya, the only one not to come in, I beg your pardon. He comes into the pits. The race leader, he's got 20 seconds lead over Michael Schumacher, 21.9 over Kimi Raikkonen. It's going to be very close, this. Long old slug of fuel going in. There are the Ferrari and the McLaren. They go past the start-finish straight, and it looks like he's going to rejoin behind them, certainly behind Michael Schumacher and behind Kimi Raikkonen. He wasn't able to do enough then, Mark.
Not quite enough, but I think this is all according to plan. I certainly feel that McLaren are going to be waiting now for Michael to peel off, and I'm sure Kimi's got just enough fuel to edge out the bit of a gap. But he's going to be frustrated sitting behind that Ferrari. He knows there's more pace underneath him, and he needs to get by Michael as quickly as possible.
So Michael Schumacher now leading the Grand Prix. There you can see outside of the top 10, some big names struggling to score points here this afternoon. So far the Ferrari has been able to live with the McLarens, but we've got a long, long way to go in this Grand Prix. Renault are not having a very good day though. Fisichella down in 8th at the moment, yet to make a stop. And Jenson Button is pitting from 4th place. What can you tell us, Ted?
Yeah, good stop for Jenson Button, but have a look at his side pods. They're absolutely filthy. Do you know what I think that's brake dust. I think a lot of brake dust coming off Jenson Button's brakes. I noticed it also when he came into the pits. So, wow, our BAR having developing brake problems.
Fisichella pits from 9th place. Button, I believe, rejoined around about Felipe Massa, which is around 8th, 7th, 8th or 9th place, but he's behind a big queue of cars. But luckily for Jenson, they've all still got to come in, Heidfeld and Massa, so they'll push Jenson back up again to behind Jarno and Trulli. So Jenson hasn't really made a thing as a result of those pit stops. He's still behind the Toyotas.
There may be some significance there, what Ted is referring to in that brake dust down the side pods. This is a particularly hard circuit for braking. There's no rest period for the brakes to cool down because the straight's so short. It really doesn't get any temperature difference with that airflow into the brake ducts. And then as soon as you get down at 180 odd miles an hour, heavy onto the brakes and continuing to use the brakes heavily throughout, there's no rest period for car or driver.
Here's an interesting situation developing. Takuma Sato, BAR Honda, has Rubens Barrichello catching up with him now. And behind then you've got Giancarlo Fisichella, who's struggling in 13th place, and Alonso trying to clamber back after changing his front wing following an incident in the first corner, is now right up behind his teammate, and Barrichello makes a mistake and runs wide on the exit of one. That lets one of the Renaults through. Alonso then, I think, will still be behind him. Yes, he is. And Alonso get him into turn 1.
Well, that's coming into the last corner there. I think Rubens basically missed his braking point, just then got onto the outside, a dirty part of the circuit. Once you're there, there's nothing you can do. There's no grip whatsoever. Very dusty, lots of marbles, lots of debris from the other cars that have raced earlier in the day. Now he's got to try and gather momentum, get himself back together again, clean off them tyres, and get himself on the back of that Renault. But easy one for Renault to get that pass in. Rubens Barrichello struggling.
Fernando Alonso into the pits on lap 27 then, the World Championship leader, disadvantaged by that early incident. Wow, he's getting on with it. All kinds of stuff flying off the back of, look like paper or something. Some of it's still stuck onto his rear tyre. And he comes back out behind the race leaders, Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. So Alonso goes a lap down here. Lap 29 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Robert Dornbos in the Minardi looks like becoming the 3rd retirement here this afternoon. We've lost both the Red Bull racing cars on the opening lap. David Coulthard and Christian Klein. A very eventful opening lap it was too, for those of you just joining us. Michael Schumacher led from the start. Kimi Raikkonen and Juan Montoya are pursuing him. We've had a difference in strategy slightly here this afternoon, but we're waiting to see how it all shakes out. At the moment, on lap 29, Raikkonen is a second behind Michael Schumacher.
Well, it's a long first stint for Mark Webber, but you've also got to take on board that because he's carrying that amount of fuel, that's putting extra stress through the tyre. So they're not too sure whether the tyre wear might creep up. Again, when you get towards the end of the race distance, tyre wear, as it goes down, you lose that grip level. It may not be the smartest move in the world, but you'll have to see. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, the pace just has not been there for the Williams team of late. For old Webber, it's a question of grit and determination for him. This is a replay of a moment ago when Felipe Massa came out of the pits right into the path of Raikkonen. Look at that, total commitment, kept his foot in, went right round the outside. They weren't racing for position, of course, but Raikkonen was not going to lose any time at all to Michael Schumacher. Is the Ferrari going to pit this time? The mechanics are ready. No, maybe it's Rubens Barrichello who's going to be coming in. Barrichello does indeed pit from 10th place, so that will allow Webber to move forward, and Jacques Villeneuve as well. Barrichello, remember, compromised by having to make an early pit stop to change the nose cone of the car, rejoined down in 13th place, and this will put him back out behind Felipe Massa. There we are, Massa and Villeneuve. Those two are 12th and 13th. So Barrichello is inside his old mate Massa, the man who supposedly is going to take his seat at Ferrari. We're here next season, Felipe Massa. And into the pits from 4th place comes Ralf Schumacher. He will lose the place to Jarno Trulli, I believe. No, maybe not. No, he won't. Jarno Trulli is half a minute behind him, actually. So Ralf looks like he'll maintain that 4th place when he rejoins the racetrack. On board again with 2nd place man Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi's doing everything he can within his powers there. He's just lining Michael up. You've got to feel for the guy, though. He knows he's got the pace. He just can't get by him at any period of time. But it's going to be something happening now. The Ferrari team are out there in the pit lane. It must be for Michael Schumacher. This is where Kimi needs to go out and make the break.
He's getting as close as he possibly can to Schumacher when he dives into the pit lane. He was well informed by his team that this was going to take place, and Raikkonen now is on one. He was the first man to make his pit stop on lap 11, was Kimi Raikkonen, 3 laps before Schumacher, but had a different strategy, and I guess Ross Brawn thought that Schumacher might have the pace with a bit less fuel to get away from Raikkonen. It hasn't worked out like that. These are critical laps then for Kimi Raikkonen as Michael Schumacher rejoins.
This is where I think McLaren made that strategy change. I'm sure they weren't anticipating coming in on 11 laps with Kimi, but I think they read the race and saw what Ferrari are up to, and now they've made the calculation. This is where he needs to make the break, and I'm interested to see what Raikkonen can really lay down in lap time now.
Crucially, he's got back out in front of that gaggle of cars, which is led by Alonso, ironically, the World Championship leader, with Villeneuve and Massa as well. Alonso, Villeneuve, Massa struggling over 12th and 13th places. Kimi Raikkonen sets his fastest first sector of the Grand Prix so far. This is the push from Kimi. This is the push for victory. We don't know how many more laps of fuel he's got in the car, but these are the decisive laps in his battle with Michael Schumacher. Well, not too many if you judge by that. Montoya also out on track. He's only stopped once here this afternoon. He is in 3rd place, 6 seconds behind. Well, Raikkonen was very, very quick on the 1st and 2nd sectors. He only had 1 lap more fuel than did Michael Schumacher. This is going to be very close, Ted Kravitz.
This needs to be absolutely perfect, but the McLaren boys are the best in the pit lane. Kimi stops. It's exactly on his marks. The fuel nozzle settles into the car. Kimi gives it absolutely... Oh, that's a short fill. This one is going to be close.
Well, Michael Schumacher exits the final corner. It was a very, very quick stop indeed, and there you go. Kimi Raikkonen comes back out of the pits. And just listen to the Finnish fans around this racetrack. There's thousands of them travel down to this race every year. They started with Mika Häkkinen, and they've carried it on with Kimi Raikkonen, the spiritual heir to the 2-time Finnish world champion. Raikkonen is in front of Michael Schumacher. Montoya leading the Grand Prix, of course. He's yet to make his 2nd stop of the afternoon. But the crucial work has been done, and he didn't have long to do it, did he?
No, it was outstanding pit stop from the McLaren guys. You saw them there very composed, no pressure whatsoever applied. They've done it so many times. and under pressure. A great stop, short fill, Kimi's out in front. Now he needs to push again hard, get the breakaway from Michael Schumacher. And I think this is all along what they've been working towards, this strategy change, and I'm sure it's a change. I'd love to ask Ron Dennis and see what he says.
This is lap 41, so 30 to go here in Budapest, and it's a duel between the two McLaren drivers on different strategies. They had different outcomes at the start. Most importantly, both of them got in front of Jarno Trulli off the start line, but it looks like it's going slowly. No, I don't believe it. Surely not. Surely not. Another McLaren problem. There's Raikkonen, second place. He's going to nick the lead off Juan Montoya, who's slowing. Raikkonen dives down the inside, and Juan Montoya in the lead. Looks like he's going to be out of the Grand Prix. McLaren. There always seems to be a but with McLaren. It's an outstanding car. It's an outstanding team with two outstanding drivers. But Montoya is not going to have the victory that he was pushing so hard for. Raikkonen leads the Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher is second. Ralf Schumacher, who hasn't been on the podium so far this season, is in third place. Teammate Trulli is fourth, 10 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. And one of the Renaults off track, Giancarlo Fisichella there from 8th place. I wonder if that allowed Webber to go through. Yes, it did. Mark Webber then into the points. Williams 6th and 8th at the moment.
That's very good. Look, you just see Fizzy gets onto the curbing. The car just unloads slightly, gets light, has to get an opposite lock on, and once he's into that kitty litter, you really are a passenger. There's nothing you can do. The problem will be now, is there any more damage been done to the underneath of that car? Has it knocked off any aerodynamic devices? And will his handling go off?
As Massa has a problem in the pits with the Sauber, Juan Montoya is talking to Luis Goodman.
Juan Pablo, we know you had to fly some new parts out for your gearbox because you had a problem with it earlier in the weekend. Do you think that's what's gone again?
No, I think it doesn't have anything to do one with the other. It was a completely different gearbox. It's just one of those things, you know, drive shaft broke and, you know, got us out of the race. It's a shame. I think pretty much I had the race in the pocket. You know, I was pitting a lap later than Kimi, so even if Kimi would have caught up with me, I think I really doubted he would have. You know, I think I had the race in the pocket, so it's a bit of a shame.
Into the pits comes Jenson Button from 5th place, and that's a shame because he was closing down on Jarno Trulli really quite quickly. He is going to lose the place to Nick Heidfeld, but Heidfeld has to stop again. He should come out just behind Heidfeld, I believe, in front of teammate Sato. There goes Heidfeld and Jenson Button. Currently then, Raikkonen leading, Michael Schumacher second, and into the pits comes Kimi Raikkonen on lap 48. Ralf Schumacher's third and worth keeping an eye on. He's a second a lap, faster than his brother, and just 10 seconds behind him at the moment. Jarno Trulli fourth. Button drops down behind Heidfeld as Raikkonen makes the stop. Surely this time he can keep it going through to the finish. There's Michael Schumacher. He was 24 seconds behind him, so Raikkonen should be able to rejoin in front of the Ferrari. There you go. Takes about 21 seconds to make a stop. That's what a couple of seconds looks like on a pit exit, but of course Michael Schumacher has to make another stop himself as well. The pace is fading away from this Ferrari in the middle part of this Grand Prix. This tyre from Bridgestone certainly looks good on a single lap, but it's not the answer, I don't think, in terms of longevity, durability over a 200-mile Grand Prix. Jarno Trulli into the pits from 4th. Jenson Button is 6th. He is some way behind him, though. It's not going to work out for Jenson Button. He's just not got the pace at the moment to capitalise. Trulli's able to make his stop and rejoin comfortably ahead. Nick Heidfeld's just set his fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. There you saw him just moving up into 4th place, but he has another pit stop to make as well, which will drop him back behind Jenson Button. But unfortunately, Mark, Button has just not got the pace. 24.2. He's going 2 seconds a lap slower than the cars in front of him.
Yeah, that's the downside for him at the moment. You'd think that the BAR Honda would be a little bit stronger than that, and that's very much the case of what they've had over the course of the season. They need to work on their race pace. It has to be a lot stronger. This race in particular, that is starting to show with the Toyota team. Very good result there with 3rd for Ralf Schumacher and Trulli 4th. Quite impressive.
Well, both Williams are in the points at the moment, 5th and 7th, Heidfeld and Webber. They're on a different strategy completely from everybody else. They qualified in 12th for Heidfeld and 16th for Mark Webber. Heidfeld should drop close to Jenson Button. There is Button, I believe. Sides through in the BAR Honda. The two Williams very close to each other, so Heidfeld just gets out in front of teammate Mark Webber, who was in 7th place. So the two Williams, having been quite far apart in the early stage of this Grand Prix, are now right together, and that says a little bit more for Webber than it does for Heidfeld, actually, because Webber started 4 places behind him on the grid. Barrichello and Alonso have been racing each other all Grand Prix. Barrichello just looks across to see the Renault tuck in behind him. They'll be pushing each other to the finish. They're a lap down, remember. That's the Toyota, I believe, of Ralf Schumacher just going through. He's a lap ahead of these two cars. What's this? Fisichella? Is that the same incident or yet another at the same corner? Anyway, back on track. It's a different one, I think. It was quite some time ago. He did more or less exactly the same thing. Ralf Schumacher 3rd, Trulli 4th, Button 5th, 6th is Nick Heidfeld. Mark Webber has made his pit stop. He rejoins behind Takuma Sato, so Sato 7th, Webber 8th. As into the pits comes the Ferrari.
I'm interested to see now with this pit stop for Michael Schumacher how far behind Ralf Schumacher will be in the Toyota when he exits. Ralf Schumacher's been pushing hard. He's been lapping about the second a lap quicker than Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, and I think the gap could be quite small come the end of the race.
Yeah, Ralf was doing a good job for a while, keeping the laps going, but he seems to have got himself involved in some traffic here. As you can see, he's lost time getting past Fernando Alonso, and he didn't really have enough time to do the laps to get himself in front of Michael Schumacher. Nevertheless, he gave him something to think about, and he's that close to his brother with 13 laps to go here. That's Michael Schumacher going through. Here's Barrichello, a lap down, and here's Ralf Schumacher about to put that lap on Barrichello, with Fernando Alonso behind Ralf Schumacher, also a lap down. Villeneuve's out of the race then. 6 laps to go then for Ralf Schumacher to do something that a lot of people have doubted he can do, which is to pass his brother. Clearly, Michael Schumacher at the moment, lapping in the mid 1:24s, is struggling for grip from his Bridgestone tyres with this Ferrari. They've made an improvement here, no doubt about that. Right from Friday, Ferrari were quicker than we've seen them through the summer so far. It certainly looked like a new dawn for Bridgestone and Ferrari, with pole position for Schumacher, but as we get into the closing stage of the Grand Prix, it looks like the durability of the tyre is still a question mark, where the Michelin seems to be going along still quite nicely. Kimi Raikkonen lapping in the 1:22s, but you sense that McLaren have told him to take it easy. He's got half a minute over Schumacher, so it's find a level that he's comfortable with, really, isn't it, for Raikkonen? Don't lose your concentration.
Exactly that, but it must be difficult for Raikkonen to accept going slower. He's a guy who actually attempts everything in a flat-out fashion. Whatever he does, he's so competitive. One man who is interesting to watch now, Jenson Button's the fastest man on the race circuit, 1:22.7, and you also sense at this point he's just got a little bit of a move on, because Heidfeld was only 4 seconds adrift. He's pulled it out to just nearly 6 seconds.
There is Jenson into the final corner. Kimi Raikkonen on lap 66, looking pretty comfortable for his 4th victory of the season and the 6th of his career. The question mark remaining now is who is going to finish second behind him. Is it going to be Michael Schumacher, or is it going to be Ralf Schumacher, who you can see is demonstrably faster than his brother?
Situation is going to be, James, Ralf is quicker than Michael, but where can he make the pass? And the obvious choice is actually onto this main straight now. You get the exit and try and tuck down the inside into one, but it's a difficult situation. You've got that turbulence, you've got to try and get your braking sweet and get the car stable and have the confidence to do it. He is better under braking. You can see the gap there significantly getting smaller, but it's going to be a tough task to get around his brother at this particular racetrack.
Race leader Kimi Raikkonen just maintaining his level and his pace. You can see there's a new graphics treatment on the side of that McLaren. A lot of movement with sponsorship in the closing stages of 2005. Tobacco is on its way out of this sport. New sponsors coming in. There's a few sniffing around at the moment. Intel is one of them, big microchip maker. They're rumoured to be a title sponsor for the future. McLaren would like that. UPS are floating around as well. So certainly the commercial basis of Formula One shifting a little bit. And look how close Ralf Schumacher is now behind his brother with the Jordan they're coming up to. I believe it's Montero.
The Jordan, which is Toyota powered as well. So is there anything going on that we don't know about? I don't think so. At this point in time, he's going to get out. He's getting the blue flags. He does the right thing. The race continues on. Interestingly, Button is still the fastest man on the race circuit, and he's only 7.9 seconds now behind Trulli. You have to wonder if he could have just made a bit more of an effort in the last stint to get some more pace out. Would he not be right at the backside of Trulli at this point?
Yeah, you have to wonder. Fisichella dives into the pits from 9th place, so it looks like neither Renault is going to get any points because Alonso's 11th. Kimi Raikkonen has started his last lap. And Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Down at Renault, they didn't get enough fuel into Fisichella's car at the last stop because he surprised them. He came in a little too early. They didn't have enough time to reset the fuel rigs, so he's had to do a real splash and dash. Nightmare day for Renault, but they will still lead the Constructors' Championship.
They will lead the Constructors' Championship for sure, Ted, but Alonso, the guy that they want to win the World Drivers' title, still languishing down there in the 11th position. 1.8 seconds or so behind Barrichello. He's not going to get what he needs today.
Well, Montoya led this race, but he lost it from a technical problem, and making up very, very much for what happened last weekend at Hockenheim. Kimi Raikkonen takes victory in the Hungarian Grand Prix, his 4th win of the 2005 season, the 6th of his career. It makes up for Hockenheim's very sweetly because his main rival, Alonso, is scoring no points this afternoon. So from 36 points, the lead is cut to 26. Ferrari look they're a bit quicker, and Toyota look like they're a bit quicker as well. Renault struggling here. Is that a problem for the future or just a Hungary-specific problem? Out of the final few corners comes 2nd place man Ferrari's Michael Schumacher, and Toyota's Ralf Schumacher in 3rd place across the line. Ralf unable to have a go at his brother, but nevertheless a podium for Ralf. He seems happy with that. And here is the 4th place man, Jarno Trulli. More points for him, despite the fact he's been driving with a broken diffuser, so the aerodynamics of that car will not have been working at all right from the start because it was something that happened to him at the start of the race. There's Jenson Button, a solid 5th place for him.
Raikkonen, the Iceman, rock solid in the Budapest sauna. Both Schumachers on the podium for the first time all year. The Renaults, nowhere. We'll be back with post-race reaction plus Tony Jardine's expert analysis. You're back with us at sweltering Budapest, where thousands of Finnish fans enjoyed Kimi Raikkonen's victory at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Raikkonen and McLaren Mercedes getting the job done. Then pole sitter Michael Schumacher holding off Ralf. That's his first podium for Toyota. Then Trulli, good stuff that from the Italian. His Toyota was hit early. Button 5th, same as last year, very acceptable. Both Williams score. Sato at last breaking his duck. I'm delighted for him. The lead down to 26. 6 races to go. Alonso could claim the title in Italy. He needs to win the next 2 for that. The reigning champion a clear 3rd. Trulli overtaking Montoya. Ralf Schumacher's podium means he goes from 8th to 6th. Barrichello and Fisichella, non-scorers. Heidfeld and Webber both register. That is encouraging, but no one feels better than the winning Finn.
I didn't think, of course, you don't hope that anything goes wrong, but I was 100% happy with the car and how it was working, so I was not worried about it.
Even though you'd had a little worry with a bit in the gearbox and the fact that Montoya had retired with drive shaft failure?
Yeah, I didn't have any problems today, so that's why I was not worried. Okay, I didn't know what happened to Montoya, but it was unlucky for him.
What did the team tell you about what had happened to Fernando, and what did you think when you heard that?
They just told me that he lost his front wing on the first lap, and he lost a lot of time. So they then told me, and then after the race, that he was in 11th place. So wherever he finished, he didn't score points. So.
Yeah, I think anything can happen, and every race is different. And you know, this 10 points for Kim is a big help, but still a good gap. Obviously, in July
I started with 22 points gap. Now, after 4 races, I have 26. So, has been a good month. Hopefully, in Turkey, we can take some more points.
Well, I think we had 5 laps of total silence on the pit wall. You know, obviously, we've been there and seen how things can go wrong at the last minute. And, you know, I've obviously mixed. Great strategy. I think we completely outfoxed Ferrari, and that was great.
They managed to stay out this extra lap, and it went by. Whether we could have stayed anyway in front, it's a big question mark, but we were clearly not quick enough.
I had a reasonably good race. I was in a race with someone for the whole race, so I had to push for every lap, which makes it so much more exciting. So it's good to get 5th, and I'm happy I'm alive after that race. It's pretty hot out there.
Tony, it's so narrow here. There's always a dash, 180-mile-an-hour dash to that first corner, and the Red Bulls really suffered there, didn't they?
It's critical at the start, winners and losers. And look at this, Schumacher gets away really well. Great team effort from McLaren as Juan Pablo gets on the inside of Trulli, makes a path down on the inside for Raikkonen as well. But it all goes off here. So we see Villeneuve getting a wheel inside Klein, flipping him over, almost like they did when they went karting. And you could see it again from the inside here. Look at this. Oh, that's Barrichello. He hit Trulli in the start. And here on the inside, you're going to see now, as the flip comes, it's the left front, goes inside the right rear of Christian Klein, over goes the Red Bull, and out.
Mark Blundell's a hard man. In commentary, he said it wasn't much of a flip, really, just a gentle roll.
Well, the last gentle roll like that was Fisichella in Monte Carlo after he hit the back of Sato's car, but any roll is a roll, and all the safety apparatus in the car and the rollover hoop worked extremely well.
And Alonso, when that bit flew off the Renault, poor David Coulthard had no chance.
No, he didn't. And you see this from Alonso here. Now, Alonso should have kept his cool, but he said, I have to make a great start. He was trying to make up places from 6 on the grid. He was trying to go inside Ralf Schumacher here, and there was no way through there. Ralf just squeezes him out. He has to go up on the curb, and his wing is already dislodged. He loses it, turn 10, 11 like that, throws it into the path of the others. Webber gets out of the way. Coulthard cannot avoid it. He's unsighted. Goes underneath the car. He loses all his steering and his front wheel. That is a very, very high-speed accident. Quite a scare for DC.
A real double whammy that for Red Bull. Raikkonen hunting Michael Schumacher, and a little short pit stop, was it, that got him past him?
Well, he was getting frustrated. He'd closed right down on him because Kimi was one of the first to stop on lap 12. When he came in for this second stop, though, it was a short fill, because what they'd done is strategically, they just changed the strategy. Had Pat Fry, who does all the strategic decisions. Quick fill. After the second stop, out he goes, Kimi, and just squeaks in front of Michael Schumacher. And there we are on lap 33, and takes the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Superb race it was,
We
too.
always said how light Ferrari were on their feet, particularly last year. Great work that by McLaren, but a real downer for them when Juan Pablo Montoya, in the lead, by the way, had to drop out.
This is very, very unfortunate. There's a drive shaft that went, and a drive shaft went in San Marino. Lap 9 it was for Kimi Raikkonen earlier in the season. The same reason Ron Dennis and Juan Pablo Montoya, the winner of the British Grand Prix, second in Germany, be very, very unhappy with that. Other teams have much, much better reliability records.
How about the battle between the two Schumachers? We've said over the years, Ralf never overtakes Michael. I mean, no real chance here, was there?
No, not at the Hungaroring, but he did close him down. He has done extremely well, and he contributed to a 3rd and 4th place, exactly the same as the team had in Spain. That time it was Jarno Trulli got the 3rd place. This time it's the first time the brothers have been on the podium together since last year in Japan. A great effort from Ralf.
Yes, good to see the brothers on the podium there, but great compensation for Kimi Raikkonen after that big disappointment at Hockenheim only last weekend.
Well, this is McLaren back in the game. This is what Flavio Briatore was worried about. He said you can never write off the opposition. Remember, he said what happened to AC Milan when they played Liverpool. They went 3 down. They thought it had it won. He said everybody in Renault's got to keep their pedal to the metal. And here's Kimi Raikkonen now within 26 points again. The summer break very uneasy for Renault.
And that was a message there for the chef, Darren Hawker, the McLaren chef who died tragically here in Budapest last week. Let's have a final word about Jenson Button. All those rumblings about his future. Once again, he gets in that cockpit, he gets the business done, Tony.
He did really well. They think they could have done better because they were urged and recommended by Michelin to go on the harder tyre. The softer tyre had the same sort of wear rate, so there's been a bit of a debate after the race. Perhaps they could have got that 4th place.
Good, Tony Jardine, thank you very much indeed. So nothing for Renault. 10 for McLaren means the gap is now 12 points. 8 for Ferrari. Toyota, though, top scorers with 11. 5 for Williams and BAR, but the order is unchanged. Your team report now comes from James Allen.
Well, this was a race that showed how quickly fortunes can change in Formula One. Ferrari seemingly back in business. The Bridgestone tyre gave them a good advantage in qualifying, but faded in the race. BAR, they chose the wrong Michelin compound, the harder one. They simply couldn't race on it. They had no pace at all. Renault, a black day for them. Neither car in the points. Again, they chose the harder Michelin tyre. There'll be a post-mortem to find out why. Alonso, an expensive mistake in qualifying. Williams will be happier. 6th and 7th for Heidfeld and Webber, from 12th and 14th on the grid. A good effort for them. McLaren, well, Montoya would have won this Grand Prix if he hadn't had a drive shaft failure. Kimi Raikkonen, though, brilliant in pressuring Michael Schumacher, eventually taking the win. Sauber, a difficult day for them. Jacques Villeneuve retired on the side of the racetrack, having been hit by Klein at the start, and Massa also in the wars with a pit lane fire. Red Bull Racing, not much to say about them, really. Both cars out on the first lap. But a terrific day for Toyota, 3rd and 4th, with the first podium for the team for Ralf Schumacher after a really super drive. Jordan, they were behind Minardi on the grid, but they came through to finish in front of them on the race, but a lot of blue flags on the way, and Minardi a double hydraulic failure for both cars.
Thanks very much, James. We have a 3-week gap now to our next Grand Prix. It's our first visit to Turkey for the brand new venue just outside of Istanbul, qualifying a bit earlier than normal, 10:30 on the Saturday morning. Pre-race show starting at midday. The highlights are at midnight. Enjoy your break. We look forward to some more F1 delights in Turkey. Good night.